So when watching your session there, I wasn't quite sure how to introduce you as this. In a way, when I'm reading your book, I thought you're a kind of futurologist who saw the future and decided to do something about it.
Right.
Like putting your shareholders' money where your mouth is. Or in this context with IPS 12, you're a bit of the barbarian at the gate in some ways. You're bringing them bad news here in a nicely wrapped package.
Well, the way I came to this conclusion in terms of the reason I decided to build my own bank interface was I tried and tried to get the industry to say, let's embrace this shift in consumer behaviour and let's retool for that. And there was so much inertia around the traditional approaches to business that they said, yeah, we really want to do that, but it's so hard. And they said, why don't you do it? And the theme kept coming up. So in the end, I thought, yeah, well, it's not that hard. I've got partner banks who are willing to participate in this. Let me build what I've been talking about. The consumer experience of how we should build banking today. To work properly for consumers today and in the future.
And underlying that is, we're at a payments conference, and one of the key things is we separate these functions of payments and banking and all the processes that go on. You're saying ignore that. It's what the customer sees as a utility.
So, even if you look at things like, if you look at the cards business and you look at the retail banking business, in a traditional retail bank or commercial bank structure, they're quite separate divisions, right? Different business units. And the only time they ever talk to each other is in the instance of a debit card or something like that. So the business units are different, they have separate metrics, they compete against each other for customers, which is sort of really absurd because customers don't see them as two separate businesses. They see it as my bank, and I use a card to get access to my money, right? So that division doesn't make any sense. So what we've tried to do with Movenbank is say, take the best of mobile banking through internet and social media and those components, take payments and figure out how payments is going to change, and then figure out the ecosystem for really optimizing mobile management of your money day to day, right, in that context. So it's a mobile bank, it's mobile wallet, it's mobile payment capability, it's a personal financial manager, it's integrated with social media, it's a marketing platform, an engagement platform built around mobile. But at its core is an account with the ability to pay.
And it's interesting, the payment side of things has always been on the transaction banking side of the wholesale banking side of life, but the innovations are coming from the retail side, from the consumer space. And we heard a lot about merchant acquiring today and how the friction's gone from that. How these two worlds going to meet? A big collision in the middle somewhere.
Well, what's likely going to happen, because there's so much change occurring at the front end around the mobile, is you're going to have a split, right? And the only way the traditional card issuers will be able to play in this new world is enable mobile. So the way they're trying to do that right now is convert all the point of sale to NFC or some other technology that enables that. Others are saying, let's circumvent the current payments rails, and let's figure out an easier way to do that. So Square has now got card case, and they're trying to, okay, they've got some payment mechanism at the back end, but really what they're trying to do is say, you don't need a point of sale anymore. PayPal's saying the same thing. So you've really got these two emerging competing approaches, which is one is a new skin on the old payments mechanisms and converting plastic to the phone, and the other saying you don't even need plastic, right? Your phone is your bin, or your name is your bin, or your card number, and we'll use that, to enable payments. Now, probably the reality is that just like you don't have one dominant payment network. The future that we emerge with won't have one dominant payment system. There'll be lots of different players, and you'll choose a utility or the best payment utility to suit whatever transaction you're doing at the time.
So from the consumer point of view, one of the issues is we're using multiple payment methods, and personally I'm using a number of credit cards, perhaps a business card, personal card, a debit card, my current account. And bringing those all together in one place is the bane of my life. Well, the bane of my wife's life, to be honest. It's because I never really managed to do it. There are still those disconnects, even within Movenbank.
So, part part of that issue is you've got the complexity of different relationships, and the reality is I think many retail banks have been searching for many years to be your total bank, right? And that I just don't think that's realistic anymore, and it's going to become increasingly less realistic. So what we went after for Movenbank is your day-to-day banking activity. We're not necessarily going to be the bank you have your wealth management account with, or the bank you have your mortgage with, but we're your day-to-day payment processor linked to a bank account, right? With some features there so that you know day-to-day how your spending activity affects your savings and your financial health.
And is there room for cash in that world?
Well, you can get cash out of an ATM machine if it's contactless, or if the ATM is enabled with a phone integration, which is increasingly common these days. We prefer them not to use cash, obviously, because it's harder to classify that in terms of your spend.
Absolutely, yeah.
And cash use is intertwined.
That's why some of us use it.
Right. Well, there was the rule of three, the rule of three. Why cash will never disappear. Drugs, gambling, and prostitution. Right.
Absolutely.
But look.
That's Dave Birch's section.
Right. So if you want to keep that as just cash spent and anonymous in your wallet, we appreciate that. But increasingly, of course, just because of less friction, people will be moving away from cash as well. So it's actually faster to do a mobile payment transaction than cash.
And easy to keep track. In terms of, the revolution is happening now.
Yes.
How long is it going to take?
Look, the next 3 to 5 years is where the big changes will take place. Obviously, you see the early adopters and the early initiatives coming out right now. There's going to be obviously some settlements there. There'll be some acquisitions. There'll be some banks trying to buy in some of the capability. This will settle over the next 3 to 5 years. But I think besides that, my view is that payments behaviour has already shifted, and we're starting to see the implementation of those behavioural changes. So it's not whether or not we're waiting for consumers to behave differently. That's already happened. It'll be enabling their behaviour.
So one final question then. If you're right, and there's every good reason to think you are, how long before the mainstream banks copy you?
So this is a good question. When we were looking at partner banks for Movenbank and going and meeting, and we met over 30 partner banks who wanted to partner with us, in the end there was only 3 that had even remotely the capability to do what we wanted to do. First of all, most of them required a signature card for onboarding, even for a basic product like a prepaid debit card. And others, their process said, no, you're going to have to wait 3 to 5 days. You can't provision the card in real time. We can't get you the data you want. So the choice of transaction processor and the bank partner was really critical to our model. So theoretically, banks could follow, but they have to change their culture. They have to change processes, they have to change their approach to compliance and KYC, and they've got to change their systems. This is a multi-year thing, and it takes a big will and a really aggressive culture, and I just don't see any of the retail banks yet with that sort of culture. You see pockets of innovation, Barclays, Ping It here, PayPal integration and other things. You see pockets of integration, but you don't see anyone saying, let's scratch that and restart banking, reboot banking, and figure out how it should work differently in these changing circumstances. And that's what we've tried to do.
It's going to be a very interesting couple of years then. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bannister. Thank you.